أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلائق أجمعين، سيدنا ونبينا المصطفى الأمين أبي القاسم محمد. وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الغر الميامين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين، مهدي هذه الأمة وخاتم الأئمة وطاووس أهل الجنة الحجة بن الحسن العسكري، روحي وأرواح العالمين الكرام مقدم الفداء. قال الله العظيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد آتينا لقمان الحكمة أن يشكر لله، ومن يشكر فإنما يشكر لنفسه، ومن كفر فإن الله غني حميد. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. One of the most interesting people throughout history of mankind is a person named Luqman. And I'm saying this because usually people who are revered are prophets and infallibles, but this person was neither. And he was a person that used to be a slave, a black slave, who Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam said about him, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, lam yakun Luqmanu nabiyya, that truly Luqman wasn't a prophet, ولكن كان عبدا كثير التفكر وحسن اليقين, but he was a servant who thought deeply and had firm certainty. أحب الله فأحبه ومن عليه بالحكمة. He loved Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so Allah loved him and bestowed upon him wisdom. But how Luqman became Luqman, a symbol of wisdom, a symbol of a lower class person who became with his wisdom an assistant to a prophet of his time, Dawood ala nabina wa alihi afdal salatu wa salam. How did he manage to do that? In fact, he was to be a shepherd, another shepherd. They worked with each other. He said to Luqman, like, didn't you used to shepherd with us? He said, yes. He said, then where did you get your knowledge and wisdom? So we were both shepherds, both slaves. Where did you get what you got? His master was someone who recognized Luqman and recognized his wisdom and his faith and his certainty. And he used to honor him and love him to an extent that his master used to eat the leftovers of Luqman, not the other way around. His master was, he didn't even like any food that Luqman didn't touch. And one day, this is kind of interesting story as well, that one day they brought his master a melon, and he cut that for Luqman. The master did that for Luqman. So he cut it to pieces. They say like 17 pieces or 18 pieces, something like that. And he used to give it to Luqman, and Luqman eats it. Until the very last piece. The very last piece said, like, I will try it myself. He put it in his mouth. It was awful and bitter. Start coughing, right? Bring me water, like, until he settled down. That's how much it was bitter and awful. So he said to Luqman, why did you say anything? I give you 17 pieces and you ate all of that and you didn't say a thing. He said, all of these years you've been good to me. Just once you gave me, and you didn't know, a bad melon. So I didn't want you to get upset that I ate a better melon. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala named the surah, chapter of Quran after Luqman. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Khairul Bashar, the best of humanity, the best of creation, he talks about Luqman. The A'imma after him, they talk about Luqman. That's how important Luqman was. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revered him. That's in the verse, in the chapter of Luqman, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first thing, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةِ أَنْ يَشْكُرْ لِلَّهِ وَمَنْ يَشْكُرْ فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرْ لِنَفْسِهِ وَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ حَمِيدٌ. One of the best and the first wisdom, that he was giving that he who gives thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does so for himself, his own, not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is one of the first advices. I think it's 10 verses, 6 advices that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, and the ones that Luqman says to his son. And the first one is what? That don't do shirk. So going back to that shepherd acquiring and asking, where did you get that knowledge from? So Luqman replied, says that the first thing is, he said, it was the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second, they say, ada'ul amana, to be what? Trustworthy. Ada'ul amana, the whole thing that we have received, right, is amana. إن عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض فأشفقنا أن يحملنهن, that we gave this, the iman, the safekeeping, the faith, to the heavens and earth, but the human accepted. Yeah. The second thing, of course, being trustworthy. It's not just giving back. Someone give you a few dollars or money to have a safekeeping and returning that. It's not just that. The whole religion is amana. Our kids are amana, right? Our faith are amana. Our people are amana. People's secrets are amana. If someone comes to you with a secret, entrusted you with that, you'll betray him if you say something. So that's one of the things. The second thing is وَصَدْقُ الْحَدِيثِ. Being what? That being truthful. And those two things, the qualities of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. That as-sadiqul ameen. And Amir al-Mu'mineen sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what we say? Assalamu alayka ya ameen Allah fi ardih wa hujjatuhu ala ibadah. Being trustworthy and truthful. And that's how Luqman says that I got this from. And what else? وَالصَّمْتُ عَلَى مَا لَا يُعْنِينِي. And being quiet and silence regarding what does not concerns me. You know, there are things that are halal, but will have a bad effect on us sometimes. Like, for example, watching something or listening to something. You know, how can things affect us? There's, let me just say this about Luqman, that one day, Luqman was giving the sheep to slaughter by his master. And his master said that bring me the two best parts of that sheep. So he brought the heart and the tongue of that sheep. And he says that these are the two best things. And his master was learning from him. Said, how? Says, if those two things are good, the life will be good. You will be good. Your end will be good. If those two things will turn bad and sick. Right? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا. In their hearts there is sickness. Their heart's not the actual heart, it's the soul. Right? And another that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in regard of the heart that Sallallahu Alaihi Muhammad إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم, except the one who came to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a sound heart. So there are streams and springs that comes into the soul. Through where? Through our eyes, what we see, what we hear, what we think, and what we say. Right? Through the eyes, it will affect the soul. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, same thing to the mu'minat, يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنْ. That for the mu'mineen to lower their gaze, not just the mu'mineen, the mu'minat as well, both, to lower their gaze. Why? Because it has an effect on you. The things that you don't see, right? You're not going to desire. A woman, a person has that, it's his wife. Then he starts gazing upon others. He starts what? Coveting that. Well, first of all, that he will be betraying the what? Being not trustworthy with others. Like, because he's looking at someone else's daughter, someone else's wife probably, right? The second thing is that this desire would transform him into hating his own wife. He starts comparing his wife with others. Anyways. And with what we think as well, some thoughts are what? إِنَّ بَعْضَ الظَّنِّ إِثْمٌ. Some of there's thought that is not, will become a sin because it transforms itself into something that you're going to say. And if you keep that thought for yourself and keep what you see for yourself and keep what you hear for yourself, the most crucial part is your tongue. If you don't say anything. Of course, in kind of being trustworthy and being truthful. Otherwise, right, these will not transfer into sins. And that's one of the not well kept secrets of how Luqman became a wise person. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يُؤْتِ الْحِكْمَةَ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. And He gives wisdom to whom He wills. وَمَنْ يُؤْتَ الْحِكْمَةَ فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. That, and whoever has been given wisdom has certainly been given much good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He says a lot, it's not like human. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't exaggerate. وَمَا يُذَّكَّرُ إِلَّا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. And none will remember except those with understanding. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those people. إنه ولي التوفيق وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.